life can be so challenging. Where can you go to get divine clarification, help, and advice? Well, may I introduce Natasha Venter, medium coach and direct connection to your guides and angels. Through her podcast, Life Clarifications, Natasha will help you navigate through and create your life's destiny. My name is Kevin McDonald, co-host of this podcast, and I've seen her work and know that through her incredible talent, you can be changed forever. So let's start another episode of Life Clarifications with Natasha. And welcome to the show, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. It's a Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, which means this is what we are going to be doing all the time on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock, is we are going to be here so that we can hang out with you and enjoy some time together. Natasha Venter is right over there. Natasha, how are you today?
I am working through what life is trying to do today. And so I am just being honest with you. I am one of those that walks through life just like everyone else. And that's why people know that I can help them through life clarifications. So with that it's just a balance of here, there, here, and what are we going to do with now? Type of thing, especially today, it seems like, but I didn't listen to my horoscope person today to really get that ins and outs, but I know from my own intuitiveness, okay, here we go.
Well, very, very cool. Now, I want to touch on something right at the very top, and that is we have a new program that we're starting today, which means that you can actually call in and talk to Natasha. And the number that you need to call, and I'll put it into the comments too, is but the number you need to call is 206-408-1395. Again, that's 206-408-1395. We'll be mentioning that throughout the course of the show so that you can get on here, and what'll happen is it'll say My Independence Report, which is okay. But then I will come and I will talk to you, and then we'll send you right over to Natasha so that you can answer a question or do whatever you need to do with her.
It's going to be kind of like the radio, and it's going to, and I am just so excited because that's one thing I like to do is in being on the radio. I'm going to be actually on this Sunday coming up, that I love to just be supportive in days. This is what's going on with me, type of thing. So
exactly.
It's things. And I just want to let everybody know that, other people might be judgmental, but here on this show, everyone is human. Everyone is walking through something. Everyone has a story. Everyone has some kind of negotiations that they have to work with their own ways of dealing with their own emotions and their life that has been brought in front of them. And so with that we all are going to be in the process of managing life as we can. Here, as I try to be as least judgmental of myself as I walk through days and days of stuff, I want everyone to know that I apply this to you. That we all have a life. We all have something to work through. And I know Kevin has the same expression of living through life is that, we're all learning. So let's just do the best we can with what we got. And when we need it, what do? We reach out and say, can you help me? And that's the one thing that you have this opportunity right now to have someone who can give you a perspective on what my guides and angels, when I connect with you, your guides and angels to help you with. And so please, I hope that in the comments, and even if you write it, Kevin's going to be keeping track of that so that I can be where I'm supposed to be, which is I
got everything all set up, ready to go. So you can give us a call if you want to right now at 206-408-1395. If you have a question for her and would like to just chat, we can do that too. And then I'll just read the chat for her. And then we can go from there. It was interesting. I just wanted to, can I share?
Yes, please.
Just
Yes, this is our show, but yet at the same time, it's my show.
Indeed. Well, I was thinking today because my family's in transition. My brother is passing away, and there's some money involved, and there's people's egos involved, and there's lots of dramas going on in my place. And I was thinking today, I was going, no, I think what you'll do is just sit back and watch the show and see what happens with everybody, and just not worry about it, not get involved, and understand that it's going to get taken care of the best way possible by the folks on the other side. Do you concur with that?
I concur with that. And that's one thing that I observed. And this is where I was grateful to be an only child. When my parents passed, was I didn't have to deal with anybody else, because I have found and witnessed and experienced through other people that when someone passes, it's not always the best time in families. It usually brings out the worst in people.
It do.
And people, I don't know why it happens, but they're like, they all of a sudden kind of go, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. And you know, it's just amazing how that happens. And it saddens me that we can't come together and say, oh, what a wonderful gift this whole process has been. You know, and maybe I would have hit that emotion if I would have had siblings to deal with. I know that there were some things that were in my parents' house that could have been family things. And it took me a year or two to go through the grief process before I was willing to say, you know what, this doesn't fit in my house. Why don't you have it? But I was able to come to that neutrality. And, you know, going back to your question about should I do that, I would say yes, be observant. Yes, let it walk. Yet at the same time, remember, you are part of the family. And if you know that your brother has stated something to you in the past, and someone really, really reneges on it, then I would actually have a voice and say, you know what? I remember you were in the room at the same time that this conversation happened. And you know that this is what my brother wished me to have. And if you can word it, did you notice how I worded it? I didn't word it in a, you know, you're supposed to give it to me. You know what I mean? It was like, first try just to awaken somebody, you know, and see what's going to happen. Not everybody's going to be receptive. And sometimes we have to put up stronger boundaries. But at the same time, first start off, because, you know, when somebody's going through the grief process, and usually it's the loved one who is in the house, who's had to watch the person go through every moment, they're not in the same place that somebody else is sitting on the other side of the phone or sitting on the other side of the world. And so with that they're in a different place. And so honoring that within reason, that they're not always in the right mind. They're not always in the best mind. They're not always in the best place in their mind. And that just kind of awaken them to, do you remember? And then start the process of having stronger boundaries maybe, and if there's something that is really, really desperate for you, check in and say, is it really worth the fight? And if it is worth the fight, then that's where go for the stepping into it. I would shift it from a fight to a stepping into it. But then again, asking, is it really worth it to do that ripple effect, put that rock in the pond, and it's going to be a huge rock, so it's going to have a huge ripple effect. But we got to ask ourselves, is it worth that ripple effect of damaging the bigger picture of the home, bigger picture of the family? And knowing some backstory of yours, Kevin, that, you know, you're at that point where it's like that ripple effect wouldn't be that big.
No.
You know, and so that's where you would have to really check in. Is it really worth it for me to do it?
Well, and it's interesting because I'm the youngest. My older brother is he's 18 months older than me, and so it's you know, I don't want to talk about this too. I'm getting to the point in time where I'm having people that I know that are my age die.
Oh, I know. Oh.
Drives me crazy. But so it's very complicated, the situation that we are in, and part of it has to do with family. Part of it has to do with people that are caregivers and not family, and stuff, and who's got the right of attorneys and all. Like, oh God,
It is such a mess, and that's where, as soon as you see the ripple effect happening, that they're making decisions, speaking up and saying, this is not about the scenario of what I'm seeing. It's about what I know that this person wished for me to have.
Right.
And, but that's also my personality. People say, Natasha, you can come in the back door most calmly and softly and get what you need because of that understanding. But at the same time, sometimes I don't have that to get it done either. So, my perspective's not always that right one, but I know for a fact that when somebody comes in and has a kindness to their voice and the kindness to the intention, many times you can get a lot further than if you're pointing the finger and yelling and screaming.
Oh, no question. No question about that. But it's a very unique situation. I won't go into it in depth because it gets a little crazy. But
yes.
If I think about it, it could make me crazy. But I'm not. I'm going to let it be, and just like my my Apostle Paul McCartney or Sir Paul McCartney. Just let it be.
Yes.
And it's going to be fine. So in any event, but that's the other thing. Now that I'm getting older, I'm just a pitch older than you.
Mm-hmm.
But, in the last year and a half, I've lost two guys I played baseball with, same age. I lost my best friend from high school. I'm losing my brother. It's like this is really crappy, this getting old stuff, and I think there's a lot of people in my same boat.
I think there is too, and there is a lot of untimelined passings that are going on. It's that, well, the timeline should be, my grandparents pass, then it's my parents pass, then it's my siblings pass, and then it's me pass, and then it's my children, and then it's their children. We're in this like, I don't know, it's like almost shake up the bag and see who comes out first, passing. And it's very sad because in our logical mind, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Why is my grandchild passing away before my grandmother's passing away?
Right.
And it's just this process. But I want you to know, though, that no one goes home alone. We all had a timeline that we can go. And I have an understanding, watching my own timeline, that if you took the line of my life, that there's been times where I had exit points.
Oh, sure.
That I could have gone away. And one was like back when I was a kid. Another one when I was in my 20s. Another one was in my 30s after my parents passed. It was about a 3-year after I took care of my mom as a caregiver. And I could have done, and I'm actually in another timeline, because right now the age that I'm at is the age that both my parents were getting sick and dying within another year and a half.
Uh-oh.
I've had to look at my own mortality. And I didn't say this in our other show, and I could have, that I've been looking at my own mortality basically since my mom passed. And people were asking me, don't you want to get a blood test to see if you have Lou Gehrig's disease? And I was like going, why?
I don't think I'd do that. I'm pretty sure.
I can't. I physically, emotionally, and spiritually can't do that, because that cuts up my my ability to say I can heal.
True.
I have that mind over matter feeling in me that I know that I can right myself. Just like even in the last couple of days that I stubbed my toe or jammed my toe of the ankle that I hurt in the beginning of, or in July of the summer. And my ankle kind of said, "You're not taking care of me like you did before." I went, "Yeah, I know, because life is asking me to do other things. I had to go back to work because we're going to do a hybrid school. So I'm on my feet a lot more. I'm walking around more. And I'm actually having to put shoes on for the first time since summer. And, people who have had toes and ankles, shoes don't always like each other with feet. And so I've been having to manage that. And so with that, I had to, instead of saying, ouch, it hurts, when I was walking around, I ended up starting to say, okay, healing, I'm healing. I'm healing. I'm healing. And then I put some arnica type lotion on it as I was sleeping, right before I went to sleep. So it was on it all night for 2 nights. And I put shoes on today because I chose, instead of being the victim of my pain and story, to change it to being, I'm asking for healing on this. And I'm actually walking better than I have in a long time. And I'm grateful for that. So that's part of that, if we get labeled. Now, I'm not talking about someone who maybe has that breast cancer line and, you can get that test. That's something that is, being a woman, that I might actually do, because that's something that I can still be me and feel it. But yet, something like Lou Gehrig's disease is life ending. And that's more of that's not me. I'm free from that. I'm really free from that story. And so I really had to look at, if it was this story, would I do it? If it was that story, would I do it? If it was this story over here, would I do it? And each one had to have its own acknowledgement. Kind of like my dad had colon cancer and then it went into his lungs. Well, yes, I've already had a colonoscopy. And I've already done a test to see if I have anything. Hasn't come back yet. But I'm doing these things that are preventing my life from ending in certain ways. But do I need to know it's going to end in another way? Lou Gehrig's disease is, if people don't know, it's where your muscles go down. You actually stop moving, and you actually stop breathing because your stomach muscles stop being able to work to push the air out of your lungs. Your heart still beats, your eyes still blink, but yet you can't swallow. You have a hard time swallowing. You have a hard time, like I said, breathing because your stomach muscles aren't moving. You can't move your arms. It depends on how it works, depends on what happens in your body. There's some people that they can't swallow first, but they're walking around. There's some people who can't walk, but yet but they can eat still for a long time. Sometimes people go within weeks, some people go within years. So it's a different story for everyone.
That's interesting. But now let me ask you, because I was watching a program the other day, and this isn't something that men have to worry about, but there were a lady said that there's a precursor for breast cancer.
Yes.
And so she took the test and she found out that she had the precursor for breast cancer. So she decided to do a double mastectomy. Mm-hmm. That would be a monumental decision, I would think.
There's no words. There's no words. I can only imagine the path that would take somebody on.
That would be, but and there we go down a bad road again. So we don't want to talk about that. Now, you are also a bit of working with astrology. So let's talk about Mars and Venus and Jupiter and all the and the retrograde stuff that's coming up. What's going on?
Well, I'm not an astrologer, but I've done enough work with the stars, and I've actually taken classes on astrology. So it attuned me enough to know what I was feeling intuitively, and then noticing, let's say, like Thursday, Mercury's going into retrograde. So with that we all are kind of going through something. We went through, 7, 9, 10 planets going in retrograde this summer. starting it back in like May.
Seemed like a lot, whatever it was.
Yeah, and we usually do have a summers of a lot of retrogrades. And what happens when a planet goes into retrograde? When it's going direct, we work on things. But when it goes retrograde, it's almost like we have to go back over our story and make sure that, are you sure you want to keep that story going? Are you sure that you want to keep going with the traumas of your life? Are you sure that you want to keep navigating through life the way that you are? Is it to your better good to stay in the box? And then the planet goes direct again, and then we kind of go back over and say, are you really sure? We want to make sure that you practice well. And then it goes direct and it keeps making you work on things. And so with that, it's just a little bit more of that internal grudgery. Are you sure? So what I noticed, Mars went into retrograde on September 9th. And we always have 3 weeks before a planet goes into retrograde and 3 weeks after that are kind of like the shadow effects, where it gets stronger walking in to what the planet's going to teach you, and it gets less as it walks out. And so you probably notice that because Mars, I wish I had that date, is going to go back into direct again pretty soon. I think it's November, is what I'm being told. November. And with that we're going to still notice that it's still causing us some scenarios until probably a little bit after. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And so with that Mars, from my observation, has been teaching us about communication. So that might have been about our mailing system. A lot of people have had problems with their internet. Some people have problems with their phones. And so it's about communication. But the difference between Mars communication and Mercury, because Mercury usually deals with the process of technology. So in other words, is your computer working right? Is your phone working right? Is your power in your house working right? Is your car, you might have a little bit of hiccups with your car, like your kiosk thingy to get into your car might not work the first time, because that's electronic. And so with that we're going to have some scenarios with technology. The one thing that I'm getting, and this is a scenario that keeps getting shown to me, that look and see if your phone turns off in the middle of a phone call. That might be Mercury, but Mars might have you check in. What was my conversation about? How was my tone in my conversation? What was my intention in that conversation? And was that going to bring me to my greater good and or somebody else's greater good? So Mars is teaching us about communication, about how are we? What is our intentions? What are we thinking about ourselves? Like for me, Mars really made me look at how do I interact with technology? And it made me actually blow an energetic hole in my aura of my house to teach me that I have the power, the empowerment to work with my technology. Now, Mars going in, or Mercury going into retrograde, I'm just going to have to be careful that I don't really short circuit things.
So how long do you think will be, well, generally speaking, how long are we when we go into Mercury retrograde? How long are we there?
It's usually a 6-week process.
Uh-oh.
Yes, it's usually a 6-week process.
That's a bad idea. You know why that's a bad idea?
Well, you know why? Because it's going to hit us right into November.
November 3rd to be exact, which is the election, and we're going to be in retrograde. Oh crap.
And I'm looking it up right now, so I apologize, I haven't done this before, but and then if I got a spell right here, me and my dyslexia, sometimes it takes me a few minutes too.
That's okay.
Okay, so Mercury goes from October 3rd to November 3rd.
Okay, so it'll be the last day.
But remember, though, that even though Mercury goes into starts going direct on the 3rd, we won't really feel it going direct until almost like the 13th, 14th, and 15th. So with that's where, even though it's going into retrograde tomorrow, the 13th, that isn't that the 13th tomorrow? Yes, it is.
No, tomorrow's the 15th.
15th? So Tuesday. So we went into, no wonder I'm having so much trouble today.
Oh yeah, that figured it out for you. Yep, today's the 15th.
You know, and I would say that I haven't had problems with technology. I had problems with my own personal function.
Well, I'm not sure what that means.
That's why I'm putting my head, because I'm dyslexic. And so sometimes I get cobwebs in my brain, and I can't explain why, but I just get cobwebs in my brain and things just don't connect all the time. Like this morning I had a class and my coworkers were going into the site and doing, to talk, and they were navigating it. And I was sitting there watching what she was doing on her shared screen and taking notes. Because my brain could not function, but my brain, being as electrical as it is, makes sense why it just couldn't process through its navigation.
Sure. By the way, if you are listening and it's 4:27 here in the Pacific Northwest, if you'd like to give us a call to talk to Natasha about something that you would like to talk to her about, we always have that, and it's on the live chat, and that number is 206-408-1395. And if you call that, I'll put you in touch with her so that she can answer a question that you may have.
Now, is that a free call, or do we have to dial 1?
No, it's a free call, and it's anywhere in these fine United States, and I do believe Canada as well. But if you want to give us some money, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah.
We can always use some of that.
Oh, yes. Oh, and I just saw that Mercury was going to go retrograde in Scorpio. So Scorpions.
No idea what that means.
Wonderful Scorpions. My dad was a Scorpio. And my best friend's a Scorpio. So I navigate with them very well. Well, we have something called water signs. So that would be Pisces, Cancerians, and Scorpions. And we're all water signs. So the Pisces deal with water means emotions. And Pisces are kind of like deep water fish. They stay in their emotions and they navigate through it. You may not even know that they're navigating through it because they're just swimming in the ocean. But then I noticed this summer, it was almost like a fish coming up the river, and they were being a little more vulnerable than they like to be. And so they were learning how to deal with their emotions a little differently. Now, Cancerians are more like crabs. We sit in the beach and and the waves come over us and going back. Now, the one thing we have to work out is not going in our shells and going, nobody's going to know what I'm feeling. Well, that's me. So I had to learn to speak up when I was feeling something. And then we have the wonderful Scorpions. They are like, to me, this is the image I get, that they handle their emotions like the dry desert. Then all of a sudden, there's a desert rain. And when there's a desert rain, that all the water comes down these canals and they wash out things. So many Scorpions, they don't have emotions until all of a sudden they're processing it all. And then I found that many of them almost have to go to bed. They have to go underneath the rock, or they have to go sit somewhere safe in order to process it. And so that's where many of them like going to bed, going and sitting somewhere quiet. They just have to get away in order to process things. And so that might be the process of how we manage a lot of our stuff coming through this Mercury retrograde is that we may not be able to voice what we're feeling. We may need to process through it first and then be able to speak the way we feel. And with that might be more of a gift, because there again, remember, Mars has been about communication. So how are we communicating? What are we thinking? What is our intention? How are we processing it? And Mercury is going to be about the function of technology. How is our computers working? How's our internet working? And that kind of thing. So check in with yourself and see, how am I interacting with my things around me? There again, check in and say, maybe, what is this here to teach me? What am I supposed to learn from this? Because literally Mercury starts showing us by patterns what is going to be happening. Like for my husband in observation, he's really learning that life is pulling the rug out from underneath him, and how is he going to negotiate it?
Those are the fun conversations to have with yourself.
Yes, because of the fact that he usually likes things lined up. A, B, C.
He's a mechanic. That's what they do.
Exactly. He is a natural mechanic. And he can take a test without studying and be fine. So things come A, B, C, D for him. Living with me, it comes back F, Z, M, K, L, A, C, and it might be D, F, G, but yeah, that's very rare.
Or BFD or something like that. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's tough.
It is tough. And for me, I'm noticing that I'm getting almost sped up by energy. And that's one thing when I jammed my toe that I was told by the fairy that helped me, because fairies love to teach us things by tripping us or losing our keys or that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. I've learned that lesson this year.
Yeah. So that I was supposed to, as much as I'm doing things here, 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 and here, and they're all different, that when I'm here, be here.
Mm-hmm.
And like with Kevin and I noticed that I was a little distracted. So I asked him to come on a little bit early so that we can start a conversation so I can change my mode to be here. Sometimes we need that shift of time to get there. And we have to allow ourselves to have that. That's why sometimes sitting in the car before we leave, just taking a few breaths before we get out helps. Or when we get in the car after a situation, just stop and breathe for a minute and transfer out of what we were just in into our next thing.
How do you do that when there is a lot of emotion attached to it? How do you divorce yourself from the emotional upheaval that you're going through, and the anger and the angst and the jealousy and the rage and all of that? How do you, because that is a really important aspect of how we can get through some of the stuff. It's
Yes.
like if I were to sit here and look at everything that's going on with my family and stuff, I could drive myself friggin' crazy.
Yes, and yes.
in like mere seconds, and then it's, I can't believe they're doing that. Why is this happening? And why is that? Why are you doing? And how do you? I know how I do it, but how do you do it?
Well, and actually, what you just did, and allowing yourself to do that in a safe place, in a safe moment. Why in the bleepity bleep 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 is this happening to me? And scream at the top of your lungs if that's what you need to do, or punch a pillow, or do something. Sometimes when I'm leaving someplace and an emotion is happening to me, I sit there with the steering wheel and go, ah!
I did that one time, and the lady in the car next door thought I was having some sort of a seizure.
But then I go, okay, here I go. And then I have tools that I also know that help me release energy. Like I have a little bell and I ring it around me. And sometimes I'm really doing it because it was that kind of a day at work. And or clapping around me helps break up the energy. Shaking, like, you know how dogs shake?
Oh, sure.
You know, they shake things off. Why can't we? You know, it's that kind of just, I'm done with that. You know, it just kind of helps us to just say, I'm done. You know, but first, a lot of people don't recognize that if we are able to show an emotion safely, like I said, sometimes I sit in the car and just go, ah! You know, but after that, what do? I go, oh, okay, it's released because it was done safely. And then I kind of go, okay, moving on. And then I breathe And then I go, a lot of us don't recognize that when we have an emotion, it's okay to show it. It's who, where, when, and how. We cannot take it out on others. If I'm angry because I didn't do something right, I can't legally take it out on somebody else. It's not right. If I had a bad day at work and my significant other was at home and innocent,
There is no innocent.
no. And that's where Mercury and Mars is trying to teach us that we're all in this process for being responsible for us. Like, we're all learning boundaries right now. We're having to have our masks on. We're having to wash our hands. We can't hug each other. But yet we're forgetting about boundaries in another way. How are we talking to one another? Are we being respectful of other people's emotions, including ourselves? You know, vulnerability is another way of setting up those emotions. And it's just, I don't know, it's just interesting how we're understanding the physical boundaries, but we're not really seeing and respecting what the universe is trying to ask us, which is our emotional boundaries. You know, that people think, oh, that means I can't show my emotions. No, it's when do you show your emotions? And where do you show your emotions? And what timing do you show your emotions? It's not about do I or don't I. It's about the ins and outs, about go to emotions. A, can do it. B, or A1, in the car, in a closed room. You know what I mean? There's more to it than just can I or can't I.
But there's also the other thing that we tend to do, and that is because we like ourselves more so, and we try not to think that we do anything wrong, that if we get angry at somebody, oftentimes it's something that we can control and we are responsible for, yet we don't want to take responsibility for our actions or what we think or what we do.
And I think that is the part of Mars's communication that it's trying to help us with. And I think that if you look at the planets in retrograde, there's been this theme about how are we going to interact with ourselves so we can interact with others better.
It's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yes, it is.
Because even though I can't smile with my mouth wearing a mask, but I can sure smile with my eyes.
Sure, and with your voice.
Exactly. And I'm saying hi to people more now because I know that people aren't.
Right. It's and people are. Well, I'll tell you, since this COVID started, just I'm a people observer. So when I go to the store or something, I watch how people are responding to each other.
Yes.
And it's different now than it was. It's almost like quick story to tell you. I was and looking for a Halloween costume, and one year when I was younger and I didn't have any ideas. And so I took an ace bandage and put it around my head like the Invisible Man would do, and put gloves on, and I had the ace bandage on, and I went to a party. I sat there and nobody would talk to me because it was like I wasn't there, because they couldn't see my face. They couldn't see who I was and stuff. And we're doing that with the mask.
Yes.
Same thing. We feel like we've got a little bit of anonymity now so that we can be a bitch or a bastard to the people around us. And that's just not fair. That's not right.
It's not right. And that's not what this COVID thing, in my intuitive knowing, was meant to teach us. It was about teaching us that we are all one, even though we're individuals.
Right.
We're all in the same package. This whole world is going through this COVID thing.
Right.
So we're all one, navigating through this. but we can be team members in the process, knowing that we all have individualities. Do I think the same way that the person that I'm saying hi to? No, but yet I can be kind. And that's the one thing that I pray for when I pray at 11:11 is I pray for kindness. That even if we can disagree, we can still be kind as we disagree.
Now you bring up 11:11. I would like to go down that rabbit hole.
Boy, we're going to go here. We're breaking it up, though. You never know what's going to come across these shows.
No, you just don't. But talk about 11:11 or a reoccurring number or a reoccurring song or a reoccurring a word that you keep and it means something to you or something, and that is being given to you as a sign of something.
Oh, it's huge. It is so huge. It is so huge. It's kind of like, are you getting it yet? Are you getting it yet? Are you getting it yet? Are you getting it? It's kind of like when the same animal comes flying by you. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? Are you getting it? And that's the universe saying, I have something for you. So like for me, I keep getting 9/11.
I do too. No, I get 11:11 or a 1:11. I get that all the time. And you know what's interesting is I have 2 clocks and they're set it for different times. Don't ask me why, but they're like 3 minutes apart. So I'll go in the bedroom and I'll get 11:11, and then I'll come out here and I get 11:11 again because it's 3 minutes behind. It's good anyway. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I get it. But each number has a representation, and you can Google it. You can find that out. 11:11 to me is the magical connection that we have for prayer. Whatever we're thinking in that moment is magnified and sent straight. It's kind of like the tube that you go to the bank, and it's going straight to the greater person who can help us with that. It might be an angel. It might be the creator that you believe in. It might be whatever you choose to believe in, but it's the cleanest connection we have to that moment of our greater belief.
And if you want to talk about your greater belief, you can do that right now by giving us a call. And why don't you do that at 206-408-1395? And just so you know, we're going to be doing this every Wednesday at 4:00 Pacific. So I'm going to put that down in your calendar so that you can talk to Natasha, and she can help you with what's going on with you. I have another quick story, and you tell me if I was nuts.
Wait. We are not done talking about numbers yet.
No. Well, numbers. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll sit here and wait. Okay.
Because there's another number that a lot of people get, and it's 9/11. And
that's my birthday.
Is it? It is your birthday, isn't it?
It is.
Well, 9/11 isn't about 9/11.
No.
It's not. What I was told, because I constantly see 9/11 in my numbers, I see 9, understanding that 9 is the ending. It's the completion of a life cycle. 1 is the beginning of a cycle. 9 is the completion. So 9 is the ending. It's also a magical number because 3 is a magical number. So it's 3, 3, 6 is 3, 3, and 9 is 3, 3, 3. And so with that it's that kind of completion of community, life stories, a life process. Like today I'm wearing red, that's a number 1. So what is my next 9 cycle gonna have a theme of? And so that's where I'm setting my intention. So 9 is about endings. Well, what is 11? 11 is about magicalness. It's about that completion. It's about community. It's about that connection with the greater good. So 9 with magical endings is what I was told it was. So 9 with magical beginnings for opportunity. So my intention, whenever I see 9/11, I take a picture of what is going on in my life. Am I ending something? Not necessarily at that minute, but it's something in that process. What am I doing in that couple days that is ending so I can have this magicalness of beginning? And 1 is about beginnings. So if you see 111, what is your magical beginnings that are happening around you? So take an observation of the days around you to see about what is happening that is showing you something. The same with an animal. If the same animal keeps coming, Google, what is the magic, or what is the universal meaning, or what is the Native American meaning, or what is the meaning of crow? What is the meaning of raccoon? What is the meaning of, and you can do those things to get a quick message of what is your universe trying to show you. You can also do that with numbers.
Well, now, if you don't have those things, I highly encourage you to pay attention.
Yes.
Because if you pay attention, weird shit's going to happen. I'm telling you, because it just does. Let me explain. You've heard of the band Metallica?
Oh, definitely. I actually went to their concert a couple times.
Oh, very nice. So I now am a fan of theirs, but I was I can't remember what I was doing, but I had this great big deal on my mind, and it had to do with the podcast and putting myself out there like this and doing this stuff. Well, I got in my car and I heard a song I'd never heard before, and it's called "Nothing Else Matters."
Yes.
And beautiful song. I'd never heard it before, but I listened to the words of it, and it was like, and nothing else matters, because I was concerning myself with all kinds of, and then the song came, and nothing else matters. And so the next day, I have a habit of on another radio, listening to another radio station. I was getting out of my sauna because I have an infrared sauna and I like to sauna a lot. And I was getting out of that, and I turned on the radio, and Nothing Else Matters started playing again.
Yes.
So the next day I was getting into my car, which is attached to a different third radio station. And I turned the ignition on, and guess what was playing?
Nothing else matters.
And so I had to write down what the lyrics were and observe, because they get to me now. People, the other side, your guides will get to you in any way that they feel they can.
Or even family members. I know a lot of family members on the spirit side will send songs to them. Like my dad, when I was coming out of a counseling session, and it was at one of the peaks of my husband's alcoholic moments. And I felt like I had a dog collar around me, and he was yanking me around. And and the counselor took the collar and put it in his drawer so that I can start being freer. And so there was a song that comes on that Fleetwood Mac sings.
What's it called?
And it was actually Journey. It was actually Journey about, and it was one of their songs about not being, that you're never alone, that there's somebody always there with you. I know what it's called. I know it. It's one of my songs, and it makes me bring me to. So I know my dad at that moment, when I needed to not feel alone, he put on the song that told me I'm never alone.
I was in my car. My sister calls. She's crying. She's sobbing. And I say, "Why are you sobbing?" And she said, "We just had to put their dog of 18 years down."
Oh, ouch.
It's a horrible, horrible experience. And so we talked for a while, and I said, she had a great life, and she was time for her to go. She lost a bunch of weight and stuff. And so I'm glad you let her go and stuff. And so then we hung up. She was feeling better. Her daughter was feeling better. And I turned on the car, and the song from Journey that starts out, "Lying Here Beside You."
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing Martha's show the next day, and I did this story and had them play that song, and some people said that it made them cry, but that is how the other side communicates with us.
Your dad.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and he would, and he didn't even know Journey when he was alive.
He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. They have this um, this ability, I just want to call it magic, this magical ability to, when they need something, it's right there.
Yeah. Well, and it was a magical, but I get that all the time. It's really is. And so I guess my point there would be, don't discount stuff. There are no coincidences.
No, there isn't. There isn't. And that's one thing that, talking to someone like me, a medium, intuitive, who has the right intentions, who has loving intentions, can help guide you through some of these new knowings that are coming upon this world. Because that's one thing, like I was saying at the beginning, that Mars was in retrograde. We've been going through this. I know we've been going through a lot. We've been actually going through a lot since
yes, we have been.
The year when 1999 to 2000 came in. We've been coming through this big, huge awakening. Well, this summer was like pulling back the onion and really getting into, and yes, the tears. Yes, the emotions were supposed to be coming on. And then we went through this, like, it's a big shift that happened. And I knew it was coming around September. I actually, on Martha Norwalk's Animal World, I talked about this, that there was going to be a shift coming on around September, and it was going to happen. And then the equinox was going to be like almost being shoved through the tube. It's like, let's get you through the tube. And then now we're kind of getting into that. Oh, that's what that's about. Oh, I'm going to integrate that. Oh, that's not as, oh yeah, I see what perspective that is trying to teach me. Oh, I haven't looked at life that way. Oh, was I even saying that? Oh, oops.
So given the fall that we're in, and it's an election year, and we've got such dysfunction in the country and such division, hate, and fear going on, what's your sense of what are your guides telling you to put on the helmet and to get underneath the bed and the hide? What are they telling you?
Actually, they are, in a metaphorical sense, that care about what's going on the outside, but put our bumper, our hazmat suit on and say, you know what? I'm going to care about the person who I'm with. I'm going to care about the person I meet in the store. I'm going to be kind to everyone that I come across. That even though there's this crap going on outside of us, and we need to care about that, there again, if you choose to vote, that's part of the language. Say, standing on a street, if we need to do that nicely and calmly and to have a voice, whatever that is, that calling for you. But think about how you're doing it. How am I responsible for the communication that I'm coming across? And when we come back to I, so I can be a healthy I, then we can be a healthier we. And when we can be that healthier we, then we can go out and be in the world with different boundaries. I'm getting that, we can vote for the government. We can vote for a lot of the things. But like I told my husband, the main reason why I vote is so I can vote for my school district.
Sure.
I can vote for my mayor. I can vote for those, because when in the big picture, the president, yes, it matters that we vote, in my opinion. At the same time, though, we are also more responsible for what happens in our own home, so that we can make this better, so the ripple effect goes out, so it affects others around us.
Exactly.
Like the saying, if you're kind to one person, they're going to be kind to one person. That's two more people, and and then and then
You can do that pretty well. That dun da 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 da. That's not bad at all. No, I agree with you. It's important that we follow. And who was it? This guy by the name of Jesus, a couple of thousand years ago, said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you."
Mm-hmm.
We tend to forget that all
Yes.
the friggin' time.
Yes, and Jesus to me is not religious.
No.
Jesus to me is a man who lived life and now is a spirit who decided not to come back at this moment in time, has not necessarily tried to come back until this, and he might come back. He hasn't said, yeah, he's kind of thinking it might be a while. So in my knowing, talking with him, he has not come back yet. He has come back as essences of himself. He's brought people who have been very super Mother Teresa type of people who have given a voice with boundaries to show strength and love and kindness. So he might have had essences, that's a word, essences of themselves, of him, but not necessarily him as the Jesus that he came all those years ago. He was meant to be a gift of a vision of a spirit now to support us, no matter what our religion base is. He was there to support us. He is kindness. He is love. He is one to say, I have gone through thick and thin with my body, with my soul, with my knowings. I have gone through life. I've gone through death. And I can help you through the whole process of that struggle. He just wants you to know that, he's available for that, just feeling that hug around you. Kind of like Mother Mary is not Mother Mary of Catholic or any other thing. She's Mother. She's grace. She's loving. One night I had a terrible night with my husband and I was going, it was a terrible night. And I was just crying and crying and crying. And I was going, it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And I knew I wasn't going to go to sleep because I was just emotionally exhausted. And I just said, I just need help, please. I just need help. And here comes Mother. And she was rubbing my cheek. And within like 2 minutes, I was asleep. Because she was Mother. She was Mother.
I have two. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that moment of knowing that it wasn't about religion. It was about bringing peace. That's all they want you to know, is that they're peace.
So, but I have a couple questions since they're close.
Mm-hmm.
One is, what did Jesus really look like?
He actually looked a lot like a lot of his pictures.
But he wasn't a white man. They didn't have those in the Middle East.
No, he wasn't a white man. He wasn't, I wouldn't say whole language, African American or the darker skin. He was of a darker Indianish, Eastern Indian type skin, yes, but he was not.
And the other question is, Mother Mary, that wasn't really a immaculate conception, now was it? Oh, there's opening up a can of worms. I'm going to have 1 billion Catholics write me a letter.
Yes, and like I said, this is an understanding. She was married to Joseph, but yet at the same time, that this one child was blessed to come through.
Well, and it's just like we don't talk about Mother Teresa's mom and dad, but she came through for a purpose, for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
All these guys, these sages, and all these really remarkable people that come and visit with us.
Yes,
they come with a purpose. They come with
do.
a mission. And they come through their lives, like people like Neil Donald Walsh and Gary Zukav and different I'm thinking of he's passed now, Wayne Dyer.
Yes.
People like that take it on as their mission, that they're going to try and help people negotiate through life, similar to what you're doing, to help people negotiate through life so that they can live their lives a little bit better and recognize that there's so much more in store for us if we just let it happen.
Let it happen with awareness.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, it's not about letting life, I'm going to lay here, let life happen.
Let me clarify. What it means is that for at least for me, is that I take the position that I sit back and I make an awareness of what's going on around me. But I don't take it personally.
Yes.
Anymore, because there's no reason to take it personally, because it has nothing to do with me.
A lot of times it doesn't. If somebody makes a decision, half the time it's not about you. It's about,
you've heard that,
but it's about what am I supposed to learn from it?
Exactly. Well, it's like that expression that says, it's none of my business what you think of me.
Exactly.
So from that standpoint, you can think anything you like of me, but that's all that is a story coming up for you that you've told about somebody that looks like me, or about me, or whatever. It has nothing to do with me.
Yes.
But if I take it personally, it ruins my day, ruins my week. It can cause marital problems. It can cause work problems and all that, because we can take it so personally.
Because that's our story.
Yeah.
That's our story. It is about me. No, half the time it's not. Not unless
it has nothing to do with you.
Natasha, you. Then I kind of go, oh, was there something that I did? Yes, I did. Okay, I'm responsible for what I did, but I'm not responsible for your action or reaction to what I did.
Correct. And unless you're doing something that obviously is either against the law or immoral, but if you're trying to do the right thing and be as clean, I call it being as clean as possible.
Yes.
And then if somebody takes it wrong, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with everything that's about them.
And actually, sometimes the universe, I just like it when they do this to us, but we're sometimes their voice. And so sometimes we are meant to have a voice that says, you know what? I'm sorry, but that doesn't work. And then the person goes, it doesn't work anymore for me to do that to you? No, it doesn't work anymore. I'm not going to be your doormat anymore.
Right.
And they give us the strength to say no.
Yes, they
do. Even though that may hurt the other person, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, or they get upset because you can't be treated the same way. It's kind of, people's emotions are so like, sometimes, where are you getting that from? But that's not my responsibility.
And you just said the word right there. But it is your responsibility to not be a doormat for somebody else. It is your responsibility to be if when there's something that needs to be said, that you say it in a loving and kind way.
Exactly. And if you've noticed, if you listen to this conversation from one at the beginning and seen the loop that keeps circling around, that this conversation has been about how are we communicating with ourselves and others.
Gee, we're pretty smart, aren't we?
And the universe, because they like it when I loop.
Yeah. Well,
and that's what Mars and check in with Mercury. What is Mercury going to teach us about us? Like one time for me, it was about my communication and boundaries with my husband and others. Another time, watching it was about how my husband was watching his son go through some of his things that he went through when he was younger. And how did he input that? How did he interact with that? And so with that sometimes we're learning things from afar, and sometimes we're learning things a little closer. So it's an interesting process. Life is an interesting process. All I'm asking is to be observant and try to be observant with interaction, and try to practice putting reaction on the back burner. Because when we react, we spew. We're not intentional. But if we take a moment, let me think about this. Interact. Okay. I'm sorry you said that, but I don't agree with you. Instead of saying, what are you speaking about? Take a moment, interact, so that you can show a kindness to yourself and the kindness to those around you.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And the problem is there are when somebody comes and they start spewing nonsense and are making and are really being hateful. That's kind of where I draw the line. I don't like to be around. And mostly I just don't like being around people that are hateful.
I know, me neither. Their energy doesn't align with mine.
No. And there's, unfortunately, there are a lot of folks that are there.
Mhm.
They're unhappy with their life. They're unhappy with the way it is. They're unhappy with the decisions that they made, but they're not prepared to take responsibility for those decisions.
No, but wonderfully, I'm grateful when life can put me, the universe puts me with those people to help them maybe get a different perspective slightly.
Exactly.
There's been many times where my kindness helped someone navigate through some troubles that they were in, and I didn't have to be intuitive to do it.
It was interesting. Years ago, I was standing in front of a hotel, and I was standing there with my brother and his girlfriend at the time, and there was a homeless camp that was like a block away. And the guy came up and he said, and he struck up a conversation with us, and he started talking about all the horrible things in life that had happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you do recognize that you have control. So, what? So you recognize that you have control over that, and you can change it at any time. Anytime you want to, you can change your story and get rid of that story and put another story in there that's positive. And he said, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, okay, so like, let's put the story in there that tomorrow you're going to go find a job. And you're going to start cleaning yourself up. You're not going to take drugs tonight either. And that's the story that's changing for you. And you have the ability to change your life. And my brother was standing there going, I don't think I understand what he's saying here, but this guy goes, you're right. I can change. It was the most empowering thing anybody had told him that day, which
Mm-hmm.
was, you can change. You can do anything that you want to do. It might not be in the time frame that you think you deserve it, but you can do. I'll give you an example of somebody I know. She's a dynamic young lady. She's a psychic medium like you. Her parents died at a young age. They died of Lou Gehrig's disease, and an uncle died of Lou Gehrig's disease, and it was horrible. And she went through all of this. She had an alcoholic husband who she divorced, and then had another alcoholic husband. And years ago, if she was in the middle of all that crap, you would have said to her, boy, I feel sorry for you. And she could have said, boy, look at all this crap that's happening to me, and give me that bottle. I'm going to take some here. And they could have continued on that way. Well, no, you decided that wasn't going to be your life path. And you decided that you were going to do something special and something different. And that's a decision. That's a cold, calculated decision that you made. Great decision. And if you had the 50,000-foot view, and when all that was happening, you wouldn't have been able to see you if you had the 50,000-foot view, you could have seen where your life was going, but because you didn't, it would have been very easy to take the wrong road.
I was in mud over my head.
Of course you were.
With my depression and grief.
Of course you were.
Yeah.
And it ended up, and so fast forward to today,
mm-hmm.
And you have,
because I practiced.
That's what it takes for all of us. Nobody, I don't care who you are. Nobody was born, maybe Jesus was, but most of us don't have, we don't have a halo, that we're born under. We have to face a period of crap to come through the other side, and to realize that it's okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be all right.
The tools my life taught me have made it to where I can breathe. I can really breathe and feel good about, okay, I didn't do my best today, but I did my better. And that was what I was going to do. And I can't punish myself for it. Just like, my toe, it was starting to hurt and say, you didn't treat me the way that you treat me before. And okay, I'll switch that. I'm asking for kindness. I'm asking for healing. I'm asking for you to work better. I want us to be healthy. And the difference in the ankle swelling up completely one day and not hardly swelling the next day, it's perspective.
It is. And not only is it perspective, it is also divinely planned.
Yes.
In many ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. My example, which is for those that don't know, I'll be real quick. I did a radio show. Well, I did a radio show back in the early 2000s. It was my own deal. Failed miserably, cost me a lot of money, had to go back to work. Went back to work driving a bus in Seattle. Did that for 11 years. I did fairly well. I worked 60 hours a week a lot of times, and I worked and I made enough money to get me by for that moment. But there was a point in time when I recognized that technology was now catching up, and it was exactly where I wanted it to be so that I could start doing this stuff with you and other people, but I still had this stupid thing called a job. And so I made a conscious decision to move into a place that I could afford long term, even if I was on disability or something. And as it turns out, as I was moving in here, I fell and ripped up my rotator cuff and had to have surgery. And then 2 months later, I fell over my dog, or my son's dog, and had to have tricep surgery on the other arm. So I was armless, still am more or less armless. But it was all, and people were going when I was at the emergency.
I'm not laughing at you or the situation, no. But I'm just kind of going, that's life.
No, because I was, after the second one, which I was black and blue from my shoulder to my fingertips. It was that devastating of an injury. And there were people at the emergency room and also at the doctor. I could hear them going, did you hear what happened to him and what he did? And they were like, oh, poor guy. And I'm so sorry. And so I had to have surgery on both. And which meant I couldn't work, which meant that I could then pursue this in a more meaningful way, which is what I really want to do with the rest of my life. And so it was all divinely planned. But in order to get that, I had to go through a little bit of pain.
Now, if you maybe had there could have been a little bit more grace and ease with what you were doing if there was a different process in your mental state, probably at that time, because of, even just the short time we've lived our lives, you've come to be less self imposing negatively.
Oh, do tell.
So when I first met you, you did not want to be seen. I'm not going to be here. I'm not here.
Oh, you're right.
I'm nobody. I am a nobody. I'm a nobody. Well, what did life tell you? You're going to be somebody.
Whether I like it or not.
With other people, but you're going to be a somebody. And if you probably would have had that understanding going through your first arm thing, that this was a journey that you were going to be going through, you might have been more sprained than rotator cut, or cut. But sometimes, and I'm getting, no, wait a minute, re-say this. My guides are telling me, no, actually, you needed to have the surgeries in order to have the legal signature to be able to be on disability.
You are correct, young lady. Everything, and it's so interesting.
So but I wanted to say that for everyone, though, that there are two sides to why things are happening, and we can either be, the story of negativity, and then you're sitting in the house going, oh, I hurt. Oh, I can't even do that because it hurts, Or you can say, oh, look at my opportunity.
Oh yeah, it was the funniest thing. See, I have a really weird sense of humor. I'm sure you've probably figured that out by now. But
I
I
kind
was
of grew up with one too, with my dad and I, so I get it.
but I was sitting in the doctor's office, and I had my shoulder in a splint, or
Sling.
sling. Thank you. And they wanted to put my left arm in a straight out like this, and have the cast go from my shoulder to my wrist. And then I said, okay, so guys, you need to explain to me how I'm supposed to get the a sling on and off, and with this is over here. And the nurse and the doctors were like, well, how do we do that? Well, see if you can do this. And then the doctor said, no, because his arm's going to be straight. He can't bend it. So how do we? And so it's like, well, you guys figure it out. And they never did figure it out, by the way. I ended up breaking protocol and stuff. But I'm healthy as I need to be at this point. I still can't work. Thank God, because now I can do this. This is I do this every day. This is what I do for stuff now, and I do it because I want to bring people like you to the world.
Thank you. I am grateful because I've always seen myself. This has been one of those quiet pushes in my life, especially since after my mom passed, that I was supposed to be a voice. I was supposed to get out and be a voice. I have seen myself on something like the Oprah Winfrey Show. You know, I've seen myself on radio. I've seen myself on many things. Well, I am on the radio with Martha Norwalk's Animal World on Sunday, usually the third Sunday. I'm doing now this, which is going to be like a radio show once people learn about us, and doing the phone calling in. And now, yes, and then we're doing our Life Between Lives, which is bringing up another conversation that has been calling for me to speak about. So finally, me saying, okay, I surrender, I accept, and I trust. Here I am.
That's what it takes. Sometimes all you got to do is to put out the intention, and it will come to be if it is in your highest good. And especially when you're doing it not for selfish reasons, but selfless reasons.
Exactly. Because this is not about, yes, I want to be, I want to have the financial ability to fly to someplace to be a speaker. I want to have the financial ability to have a little vacation when I fly to speak for somebody, you know, but at the same time, it's not about, I would still live in the same house. I love my house. I love my car.
It's not about the money.
Over 100,000 miles on it. It's about being the heart love to do what I'm called to do.
And by the way, and this is what I'm learning is that when you devalue yourself by saying that you're not going to charge for something, or that you're devaluing who you are. And
I've done a lot of years of practice to get where I am today.
It's hard, but you know, and I made a pact, that the pact that I made was that because I failed so miserably at selling advertising and stuff the first time through, which is why I spent almost $100,000 trying to put this together. And which cost me my marriage and my house and my bankruptcy. Anyway, all that stuff. And, but the pact I made was, I want to be in a position where making money doesn't matter. If I make money, terrific. If I don't make money, terrific. I don't want it to matter. I don't want it to mean that I can't survive.
Yes.
And so that changed for me anyway. That changed the paradigm.
It does, because if we watch the numbers, then the numbers don't happen. But if we watch our intent to be loving, kindness out there. It's amazing the breath in, the breath out that happens. And that's what I'm noticing now is I have the breath in, the breath out. I'm receiving and giving and receiving and giving. And it's just a blessing. And with that I hope that people, now that we've gone over our time by 20 minutes, that it was meant to, because there's this extra story that we needed to tell that has light in it, that has love in it. And as I do inspirational quotes on Facebook and Instagram, that, it is about, when we, as there was a rainbow, that,
read that because we can't see it.
yes, when we keep putting positive thoughts out there, we never know what will happen if we keep believing.
Exactly. That's beautiful. That's beautiful because, and the thing is, relax and enjoy life. You're not getting out of it alive anyway. So, just.
It is about the journey. How are we going to live the journey? Is it going to be a bumpy car ride with nagging family members? Or is it going to be a wonderful drive with scenery? And even the desert's beautiful sometimes.
Oh, it is, as long as I get to stay in the car, because there are bugs and stuff out there.
Blessings to everyone. And just know that I am here to do sessions. All you have to do is go to my website, www.angelicclarifications.com, or email me at natasha@angelicclarifications.com. And I know that through life, we do have stories. We do have things that happen. We do have this moment. And if I can be any support through those moments, I'd be grateful to be there for you and with you.
I got nothing else to say. That was great. This is your show, baby. You get to close it out.
Thank you all for coming. And I hope this was helpful for you, because that is our intention, is to be some kind of light voice through smiles and laughter, sadness and grief, to be able to get to help. This is Natasha Venter and Kevin McDonald.